Hello everyone, welcome to the Daisy Tech School. In this video, we will be talking about Microsoft Excel. So whether you're a beginner or an intermediate user, this video is for you. By the end of this video, I want you to have an understanding of how to use Excel, its basic and some advanced features. So let's start at the very beginning. What is Microsoft Excel? Microsoft Excel is a spreadsheet program. And with spreadsheet programs, you can analyze data. You can understand trends, extract information, and perform calculations on your data in Microsoft Excel. In this video, we will be talking about a lot of topics. But if there's anything else in particular that you would like me to create a video on, please do let me know in the comments. Now, after understanding what Excel is, let's move on to the next question. Where can we find this application? For this, let's open a web browser. It can be any browser, Microsoft Edge, Chrome, Firefox, and browse to office.com. Once the page loads, you will see two options, one to sign in and the other to get Microsoft 365. This option takes you to the page where you can purchase and install the Microsoft 365 suite on your desktop. So let's click on this. Scrolling down on this page, you will see two options to install and subscribe for Microsoft 365. The desktop version of Excel is a full-featured application. Here on this page, you can see two options to purchase a subscription. The family version is good for up to 6 people, while the personal version is only valid for one person. Besides Excel, you will get several other applications. And if you wish to do a one-time purchase, scroll down a little bit here and you can go for the Office Home and Student version. However, in this version, you will only get these 4 applications: Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Outlook. You can use Microsoft Excel online as well. So let's go back to the same page where we opened office.com, and here you would click on Sign In. Once the page loads, you will see two options, one to sign in and the other to get Microsoft 365. Now that we know where to find Excel, let's open Excel on our desktop. There are several ways to open Excel. You may find the icon here on your taskbar or on your desktop, and if you do not find it there, just click on Windows and type in Excel. Click on Excel and the application will open. This is how Microsoft Excel looks when it is first opened. The version that I am using in this video is Microsoft 365, and this is the latest version at the moment. The page that launches the moment you open Excel is called the Home page. On the left-hand side, you see the Home tab, and here, besides the blank workbook, there are a few templates and tutorials that you can see listed over here. Templates are files which are pre-built for you with columns and formatting already created. You only have to enter your data and the sheet is going to be ready to use. In addition to this, you also have a few tutorials here. If this is the first time that you're using Excel, these tutorials will come in handy. There are several other templates here. If you would like to explore those, click on More Templates and you will find templates from a lot of other categories. Now let's move on to the next section of the home screen here. So here under the Recent tab, you can see your recent files that you may have opened and worked on in Excel. If you do not find those files, just enter the name and you will find a list of all your files with that specific name. You can even pin your files so that they always appear under the Pin tab. So right-click your file and click on Pin to List. Once you do that, you will see a small pin that has been added to your file name, and this file will always appear under the Pinned tab. And if someone shares their files with me, they will appear here. Now, let's go to the next tab called New. If I click on New, you can see besides the blank workbook and an already used template, you will see all the other templates separated in different categories. And if I click on Open, I will find all my recent files along with options to browse those files. I can even click on OneDrive to find my files that may have been uploaded on OneDrive. So in this way, you can access all your recent files and also create new ones using the blank workbook or templates. Now I will be opening the Excel for Beginners file, which we will be using in this tutorial to understand the application. You can find a link to download this file in the description below. So let's get started. The first thing that you see on the screen is a file with a few cells filled up. When you open a new file, you will find a view which is similar to this. I will be exploring all these tabs that you see here at the bottom one by one with you to explain and give you further details. If you wish to skip and jump to a specific topic, you can always click on the timestamps in the description below. However, I would recommend that you follow one by one until the end so that you get a deeper and clearer understanding of Microsoft Excel. So we will start with the very first sheet called Intro. First question we have is, what is this screen? Where are we in Excel? This screen that you see here is called a worksheet. Bottom, each of these tabs with a different name is called a worksheet. When you right click on the worksheet, you will see several options come up. The first one, insert. It will insert a new worksheet or delete or rename and so on. Next question, what is this box? What are these boxes? In Excel, these boxes are called cells. A cell in Excel has an address which is specified by the column name as well as the row number. In this case, in this yellow box that you see right here, the address of the cell would be a combination of the column name, which is D. Columns are named by alphabets, starting from A to Z, and after A to Z, there would be AA, AB, and so on. So this yellow cell here would have an address with a combination of the column name, which is D, as well as the row number, which is 8. So this cell has an address D8. You can see the address of each cell here at the top left of your screen as well. Whenever you click on a cell, this address changes accordingly. This address is called the reference of a cell. This is how all cells, or all worksheets rather, in Excel are set up. You have columns in each sheet and you have rows as well. And each cell is referenced using a column name and a row number. Next, moving on to referencing a range of cells. So what if we want to reference not just one cell, but 2 cells or more than 2 cells? To reference more than one cells, we use the notation where we start typing the reference of the very first cell and then put in a colon sign along with the reference of the very last cell. For example, I want to select these 3 cells. To write them down, just to give you an example without complicating things, put an equal to sign just to show you the selection. And then we will learn what the equal to sign means later on. So I will type in the address or the reference of the first cell, which is A1. The moment I type in A1, you will see a blue box has appeared around the cell. Then I would put a colon sign and I would put A3. Now you can see that all the cells starting from A1 to A3 have been selected. If I delete A3 and type in B3, all the cells within that range, even if they are covering multiple columns, will be selected or highlighted. Now let's move on to our next sheet, formatting. So here we have a few questions that will help us understand the different types of data that Excel works with and how we can format those different types of data. So very first question, what is my salary? I want to format this number as a currency. So starting off with the very basics, here at the top you can see a currency symbol. Need to click on and all the formatting will be taken care of for you. If your currency is not US dollars, you can always click on the small arrow right next to the dollar sign, and a few other currencies are also listed here. Or you can click on more accounting formats and more different types of currencies will be listed there. You can also see that decimal points have been added to this along with comma separators, reading the number easier. Besides this, we can even increase or decrease the number of decimal symbols that our number format has. Our next question, how many steps do I walk in a day? So to make this number easily readable, so I would like to add a few commas here. I would add a comma and this would change the format to a more readable format. These steps would not really be counted in decimals, right? So we can remove the decimal values from here and that would give us a whole number with a comma that is easily readable. The next format of numbers is decimal to fractions. What if I would like to view this number 0.25 in a fraction format? Well, let's say I would like to convert 0.25 into a fraction. Again, going back to the formatting section, I would click on this arrow right here and look for fraction. When I click on fraction, this number would immediately be changed into 1/4 into a fractional format instead of decimal. Next question, let's bring this right here. This example, as you can see, my data is not just covering column A, it is also bleeding into column B. However, I want to make sure that this data covers both the columns. So I will merge these cells into one, and for that I will select, basically click and drag on both the cells that contain my data, and then at the top here click on merge and center. This would combine both the cells into one and my data can be seen as a part of just one combined cell. In our next example, I would like to see how to fit an entire line which is bleeding into another column into one cell. For that, we can use the wrap text option. So I would select or click on the cell where my data is, and then at the top click on wrap text. So instead of covering multiple columns, my data is contained within just one cell. And there are several other options to format your text. You can color your text, let's say color in blue, or you could color the entire cell itself, let's say green in this example, and several other options to increase the font size, make it bold, italic, or underlined, change the font of your text, and so on. Our next topic is cell size. How do we adjust the cells to fit the data that has been entered into it? Right now you see we have data of several employees with their ID number, name, department, and so on. Our Excel sheet contains rows and columns. To adjust the size of rows, when you bring your cursor over the edge of the row, you will see that the pointer has changed in shape. Right now you see a plus sign, and the moment you bring it at the corner, you will see that there are double arrows with a single hyphen in the center. When the pointer changes to this format, keep clicking and then drag down. This will increase the size of the row. If you wish to decrease it, do the same, bring the pointer at the edge of the row and then click and drag up. Similarly, you can adjust the size of the columns. Here, when you bring the pointer, it changes into a double arrowed pointer. Just click on it, keep clicking, and then drag it to the right or left to adjust the size of your column. What if the data that has been entered into the cell is longer or bigger than what the cell size is? To adjust the cell size, there are two options. The first one is what I just showed you. Just bring your pointer next to the arrow and drag, and the size of the cell will increase. And similarly for the column, just bring your pointer and drag, and the size of the column will increase. Now, this is a very manual process. The other way in which you can automatically adjust the size of the rows or columns is by using the double click method. To do this, just bring your pointer at the edge of any column that you wish to adjust, and when you see the change in the cursor, double click on it. When you double click on it, the size of the column will adjust to match exactly the size of your text. Similarly, here we would like to adjust the column according to the size of data in this column. So I will just bring my cursor here, make sure it changes into the double-sided arrow, and then double click on it. We can do the same with a row. For example, this row that you can see here is larger than the size of the data. I would like to adjust it just so that it neatly fits the size of the data. So how do I do that? I bring my cursor right at the edge of the row and then double click on it. As you can see, the height of the row has been adjusted to exactly fit the height of the data. Let's say we have multiple rows and columns that need to be adjusted. So I will just mess up a few rows here just to show you how you can do multiple rows and columns at the same time. To select the entire sheet, we will click on this little triangle that you see at the top left of the worksheet. When you click on it, the entire sheet gets selected. Now, to adjust all the rows in this sheet, just bring your pointer to the edge of any column, and the moment you see a change in your cursor, double click on it. All the columns will be adjusted automatically according to your data size. Next, we wish to adjust the height of the rows. So, let your sheet be selected. Now we will bring our pointer at the edge of any row and just double click on it. All the rows will be adjusted according to the height of your data. Now, if I wish to just add a new column in between these two columns, I would just click on the alphabet at the top of the column. That would select the entire column, and then right click and click on Insert. This would insert a column at the left side of your selected column. Similarly, if I wish to add a new row, I will select a particular row by clicking on the number at the left side of the screen, and then right click on it and then Insert. A row will be inserted at the top of the row that you had selected earlier. So until now, we were just discussing the basics of a sheet and the formatting of data. Now we will be moving on to the most powerful section of Excel, which is the formulas and functions. So now I will talk about the functions and formulas of Excel. This is the most powerful feature of Excel. We will start with the very basics and then gradually move on to a little bit of complex calculations. So starting off with the addition, we have two numbers here, 10 and 23, and we would like to see the sum of these two numbers. How do we get the sum? The very first point to understand is that whenever you write any formula or any function in an Excel cell, the first thing you have to enter is an equal to sign. This prepares the Excel sheet for an incoming formula rather than just a data. For example, this cell contains the number 10. It does not need an equal to sign because it's not doing a calculation. However, if we need to do a calculation, we have to start with an equal to sign. Now, in this example, we wish to calculate 10 plus 23. So I will enter 10, then I will put a plus sign and then 23. Once your entire equation has been entered, press enter and you will get the answer. However, the power of Excel comes from its cell references. So instead of manually entering the numbers as we did here, we will be using Excel cell references that we discussed in our previous worksheet to do the calculation. Again, we will begin with an equal to sign. Now I wish to add this cell with the cell here. So I will simply, after putting your equal to sign, I will click on the first cell. So now you can see the cell reference where the 10 number resides shows up in our cell where we are doing the calculation. Now put a plus sign. The moment you enter a plus sign, you will see the blue blinking edges have stopped and become a solid line. Now we select the second one. Here you can see now this cell has a blinking border with the same color that you see the cell reference in this cell. Press enter and you would get the exact same results. This is very helpful in case you change the number here. So the moment you change the number here, this result changes accordingly. However, this one does not because it is a statically entered value. That means it has been manually entered and will not be updated according to a cell's value. Now, in addition to the operators, the plus, minus, the multiplication signs, Excel mainly works on its inbuilt functions. In this example, we will be talking about the sum function. We can use the sum function to calculate the sum of multiple numbers at the same time. So here in this example, we would like to do an addition of these three numbers. Using the sum formula, we're going to do the calculation. Starting off again with the equal to sign, we will enter sum. Sum is an inbuilt function that gives us a result by adding all the numbers in the brackets. So after you enter sum, you will open a parenthesis or a bracket. And then we will start entering the numbers one by one. You can do that. 1, press a comma, click on the second number, press a comma, and so on. This is one way to do it. The other way to do is, again, by entering the equal to sign, then typing in sum and opening the bracket. Now you click on the very first cell that you would like to include in your addition. Keep clicking on it and drag the selection to all the other cells that you would like to add and get the result for. Close the bracket and press enter, and voila. We can do the exact same thing with a horizontal series of data. So we enter sum, open a bracket, select and drag all your data, close the bracket and press enter. In our next example, I would like to add values which are on different parts of the screen. So how do we do that? We start with an equal to sign and enter the sum function name, open the bracket and select your very first cell. Then press the comma and select the other cell that you would like to add. Again, another comma. And let's say now I want to add a series of values. So I will select 3 values together and then close the bracket and press enter. This would give me a sum of all the values that have been selected in the function. Another way to sum a few numbers is to select all the cells that have the data that you would like to add, and then at the top you go ahead and click on auto sum. When you click on auto sum, you get the sum in the last cell at the bottom of your data. If you want to auto sum horizontal data, just select the data and click on auto sum and the value of the sum would come at the end of the. If you go and click on the arrow at the right hand side of the auto sum button, you would see that there are several other operations that can be performed within 2 clicks on your data. Those operations could be an average or count of numbers or the minimum or maximum values of the selected data. These are just basic functions. Excel has a huge number of formulas and functions. We are just learning the very basics of functions right now. Okay, moving on to the subtraction. Here again, we would enter the equal to sign, select the very first cell, type in the minus sign and then the next cell. When you press enter, you would get the result of subtracting the second number from the first one. Similarly, for multiplication, we would enter the equal to sign, select the first cell, put in the asterisk sign, which is the multiplication sign on the computer, and then click on the second number, press enter, and you would get the result. For the division, again the same, press the equal to sign, click on the very first cell and then put in the slash sign that would be the division sign and then select the very second cell. Once you press the enter, you would get the result of dividing the first number by the second number. Moving on to the average, you can type in the average formula manually or you can even go to the auto sum option and select average from here. So let's do it in both ways. We would come into this cell, type in equal to and start typing average. When you reach a point where you can see average as the first option in the menu, just press the tab key. This would complete the entire function name as well as open a bracket for you. Now select all the cells that you would like to get an average for, close the bracket and press enter. Similarly, if we would like to use the average function from the menu here, I would go ahead and select my data and click on the arrow here and then select average. The average of the entire selected data would appear at the cell which is right at the end of the selection. And just like we did the average, we can get the minimum and maximum values as well. So I would go here, click on the arrow and click on max because that's what I want. It automatically selects the data and I press enter. Now I would go and get the minimum. I would select minimum from the list and it would give me the minimum. Excel is basically a very large calculator that does thousands of complex calculations, and this is just the beginning. Now let's move on to our next sheet called the fill sheet. In this example, you can see a table that has not just the employee details, but their salary, their joining date, and the bonus as well. On the right hand side, we have a cell that contains the fixed pension and a little table that contains the total sales. So we will discuss all these later on. So right now we would like to calculate the total salary of the employees. So we will create a new column here called total salary. To calculate the total salary, we will add the salary amount to the bonus. And to do that, we will start off with an equal to sign, click on the salary, press the plus sign, and then click on the bonus and press enter. Now we have the total salary of the very first employee. To get the salary of the remaining employees, we do not need to do the same calculation over and over for each row. We just need to bring our cursor at the bottom right of the cell where you see this green dot. Just bring the cursor, and once the color of the cursor changes, just double click on it and all the values in your table will auto populate. When you select the cell and you press F2, the function F2 key, you will see which values have been selected in each cell. Here you can see Excel has automatically selected the relevant cells to do the total salary calculation. This is extremely powerful as it saves a lot of time and manual work. Next, we would like to deduct the fixed pension from the total salary. To do that, we will add one more column here. We need to adjust the size of our column, so we will bring our cursor here and double click. To do the total minus the pension, I will enter the equal to sign again and then select the total salary, put a minus sign, and then select the fixed pension and press enter. When I press enter, I get the subtraction of 61,740 minus 500. Now, for the rest of the employees, I want to do the same calculation where I want to deduct $500 from the total salary. Let's do that using the same method we did earlier and see what we get. When I double click on it, you would see the total minus the pension is not really the total salary minus $500. Why is that? So if I come to the total minus pension cell of the second employee and I press the F2 key, I will see that Excel has basically subtracted this cell in red from the total salary instead of subtracting the 500. So it has shifted the second cell with the employee row. And this is not what we want. We want Excel to always use this specific cell to do the pension deduction. And to do that, we would go back to our very first cell that did the calculation, press the F2 key to see which values have been deducted. Now, here we want to make this value fixed so that for the rest of the calculations, Excel does not adjust the cell reference. So to do that, we simply need to press the F4 key. The moment you press the F4 key, you will see that two dollar signs have been added before the column name as well as the row number. This fixes the reference of the cell, and these are called absolute references. When I press enter and redo the calculations for the rest of the cells, now you can see that the calculations have been updated, the results have been updated, and when I press the F2 key again, this fixed pension cell is fixed in all the rest of the employees' total minus pension calculation. The values that keep changing with each row or column are called relative references, and the values that do not change or are made to remain fixed with the changing rows or columns are called absolute references. You can press the F4 key to toggle between fixing just the row or just the column. So if I press F4 once again, now my column is not fixed, but my row is fixed. Again, if I press F4, now my column is fixed, but the row is not fixed. The dollar sign has to come before each character in your cell reference to make it fixed. Now, none of the values are fixed, and now both the row and the column of the cell reference has been fixed. Now, moving on to the transpose function, I would like to show you a function of Excel where you can convert the columns into rows and the rows into columns. Select the data that you would like to convert, press Ctrl C or click on copy at the top here. Then go to the cells where you want to paste the row into a column and the column into a row. Right click on it and click on Paste Special. A window will come up. Here at the bottom you will see the word transpose. Make sure that option is selected and click on OK. The moment you click on OK, you will see that all the row values have been converted into columns, and all the column headers that you see here, employee name, name, department, position, salary, etc., has been converted into row names. So moving on to our next example. Here we have a table that shows the sales for Q1 of a company. We would like to enter Q2, Q3 and Q4 at the bottom instead of manually entering the values. To do that, I will just click on the very first cell and then go to that little green dot that you see at the bottom right of the cell. Bring your pointer to it and you will see a change in color. Now just click on it and drag down. When you start dragging it down, Excel automatically recognizes the pattern and gives you the values without adding them manually. This is a very powerful feature and will save you tons of time. Now let's move on to the split data sheet. Here you can see we have a list of employee names and they have been added as the first and last name. In this example, we would like to split them as first and last name. So I will create 2 more columns as first and last. To split these two, I will write the first name from our first employee's name in the first cell here. And in the last name, I will write the first employee's last name. Now you would be thinking this is a very manual process. That is for the very first cell. For the remaining cells, I will simply press the Ctrl-E key on my keyboard and it's done. Similarly, for the last name, I will come to the very next cell and press Ctrl-E and it automatically fills up the rest of the values. Isn't that simple and extremely quick? There is another way of doing this, and this is just for your information, although it's a bit slower than this Ctrl-E option. I will select the data that needs to be split and then click on the Data tab. Here on the right hand side, you see an option called Text to Columns. I would click on that and select the delimited option and click on Next. Delimited basically means the data is separated using a special character. In our case, it is separated not using anything else except a space. I will select the space and here at the bottom you will see a preview of your data being separated. I will click on Next and now I can see the destination cell where my final data is going to be entered. However, I want to put it in D2. So I'll click on this little arrow here and click on D2. Click back on that arrow to get the window and click on Finish. There. In a few clicks, your data has been separated. You can use the same method to separate your data that has been delimited or separated using commas, tabs, or any other character for that matter. Now we move on to our next sheet called Filter Sort. Again, here we have a list of 20 employees' data, including their name, department, salary, joining date, etc. In this example, I would like to show you how we can filter and sort our data to get exactly the data that we need to see. Going back to the Home tab, I will select my entire data by clicking on the very first cell, press the Shift key and then click on the last cell. On the Home tab, at the right hand side, you will see an option called Sort and Filter. When you click on that option, there are several options here. Sort smallest to largest, sort largest to smallest, custom sort and filter. Right now, we would just like to filter the values, so I will click on Filter. The moment I click on Filter, you see these tiny little arrows have been added to each header of your data. This would help us to filter the data to our needs. So let's start with filtering the data. I would like to see the values for only accountants in the company. So I will come to the Position tab here, click on the little arrow here and uncheck Select All. This will remove the selection from all the other positions. Now I will click on Accountant and then click on OK. Here you go. I can only see the values for accountants. To undo this, I would simply click on this arrow and then click on Select All and click on OK. I will get my data back. Now, let's move on to sorting the data. Any columns that contain text can be sorted alphabetically. Any cells that contain numerical values can be sorted from large to small values. We can even sort our table based on the newest and the oldest dates. So let's sort it based on the highest to the lowest salary. Again, I will click on this little arrow here and then click on largest to smallest. When I click on it, the entire table rearranges according to this column. Next, let's sort based on the names. I would like to sort based on the alphabetical order of the employees' first names. So I will click on this arrow again and click on Sort A to Z. In a few moments, you will see that the entire table has rearranged itself again and you have the name column arranged in the alphabetical order. So to sum it all, you can filter and sort at the same time. Let's say I would like to filter the salaries of only clerks and arrange them in descending order. So I have filtered the clerks from the entire table and now I will go to the salary column and then click on largest to smallest. In this way, I get a rearranged table which contains salaries in descending order for only clerks of the company. To make sure that you clear all the filters and get your entire data back, you go back to the Sort and Filter option on the Home tab, click on this and click on Clear. All the filters that have been applied to your data will be cleared. This will not sort your data in the original order. It will, however, clear all the filters and give your entire data back to you. Moving on to our next sheet called Tables. In this example, I would like to show you how to implement tables and the advantages of using tables. In Excel, a table has several advantages. So first of all, we would like to convert this set of data into a table. To do so, just select any cell within the data, then click on Format as Table and select any design that you would prefer. I would prefer this one, a pop-up window. The first question on the window is, where is the data for your table? At the moment, you can see Excel has automatically selected the data and is showing you blinking green dots around the data. If it doesn't, you can always click on this little arrow and then do the selection manually. Click on the arrow back and you get the window. The second option on this pop-up window is My Table has headers. Yes, headers imply the name of the columns of your data. The column names, which are not actually data, they are just names of the columns. So yes, My Table has headers and this should not be treated as data. So I select that and click on OK. As soon as I click on OK, you've seen that the formatting of the entire data has changed and the data has become extremely readable. This is one advantage. The second advantage is that if I need to add another column to this data, I simply need to go to the last column of the data, go to that little dot at the bottom right. Once the pointer changes, I will click on it and drag to the right. Here you can see a new column has been added with the exact same formatting. The name has been replicated as well, but I can change that. In this cell, I would like to calculate the total salary of all the employees, and like we did earlier, I will press the equal to sign, I would select the salary, put a plus sign and the bonus. Now, the moment I press enter, you will see how tables really help us in saving time. Here you go. I did not even need to double click or drag and drop the formula into the rest of the rows. With tables, you just need to do the calculation in the very first cell and press enter. The remaining calculation is automatically done for the rest of the rows. Another fun feature of adding tables instead of just using the data as it is when you click on the data, you get a new tab called Table Design. Here you can use this option called Total Row to get a total of a certain column. So here, if I press on Total Row, I will get the total of all the salaries right at the bottom of the entire table. Here you will also see an arrow. Let's scroll down a little bit. When I click on the arrows, I get an entire list of different kinds of operations that will help you to do quick calculations without the need of entering formulas or functions manually. So let's say I just want the average salary. I will click on average and there you go. Now let's move on to our next worksheet called the Quick Analysis. Quick analysis really helps us save time if you want to do repetitive tasks on your data. So here we have the same table. This has not been converted into a table yet. And here we have the same data of the employees. It has not been converted into a table. Anyways, I would select the data by clicking on the very first cell, then pressing down on the Shift key and then clicking on the very last cell. The moment I do that, you would see that a little icon has appeared at the right-hand side of the selection. I will click on the icon and here you see several sets of common operations appear. There is formatting, there is charts, totals, tables, and sparklines. Let's say I would like to get the total of the total values of my data. I would come to the Totals tab in Quick Analysis and click on Sum. This would give me a sum of each column at the end of each column in the last row. To get Quick Analysis, you can even right-click on your selected data and there you see the Quick Analysis option. The same pop-up window would open up and you can add data bars or do whatever quick calculation you would like to do that are available in the Quick Analysis tabs. Now let's move on to the Charts tab. Another great and extremely important feature of Excel. In the Charts tab, we have two tables. The first table shows the English books published by year starting from 2015 all the way until 2022. The second chart contains the dates as well as published books, and in the last column we have the total sales revenue for each year. To create a chart, I will select the data and then go to the Insert tab. Here we have a button called Recommended Charts. Click on that and a window will pop up. Here you would get all the recommended charts that Excel thinks that you can use to portray your data. We will select the very first one and click on OK. The moment I click on OK, the chart is automatically inserted into the Excel sheet. I can move the chart around, reshape it, and adjust it according to my data. This is a simple line chart showing the number of books published starting from 2015 on the x-axis and the number of books published on the y-axis. Now let's move on to the next table here. In this table, in addition to the books published, we also have the sales revenue and we would like to display both the values in one single chart. Again, I would select the table, click on Insert, and then click on Recommended Charts. On this window, I would go to All Charts. Here you can see the charts that Excel is recommending you to use with the data that you have selected. You can click on each of these different types of charts to see how your data is actually represented. However, in this example, we want to use a combination chart. So we click on the combo. We want each of these two different types of data to be depicted on two different axes. And hence, for the total sales revenue, we would select the option called secondary axis and enter a tick mark. When I enter a tick mark, you see a preview of the chart that will be created with my data. What this basically does is that English books published are displayed on the y-axis on the left-hand side, and the total sales revenue are displayed on y-axis, that is on the right-hand side. These two values cannot be shown on the same axis, and that is why we need two different axes to represent two completely different sets of data. However, we want to see them together on the same chart, and this is why we use the secondary axis. Click on OK, and your new chart is inserted into your sheet. Again, I can click on it, drag it and move it around, click on these side arrows and then resize it according to my requirements, and we're done. This is a very basic overview of how to insert charts. There is another video on our YouTube channel that you can view that gives you complete details on just charts. Moving on to our next tab called the freeze pane. When we scroll down, you see that our headers have disappeared. There are two ways to make sure that your headers remain at the top of the screen, and you can scroll down without losing touch of the header of each column. The first option is using the freeze pane. So what do we do? To prevent the very first row from hiding the headers, what I would do is click anywhere on the table, then go to the View tab. Here, you would see the option Freeze Panes. Click on that and click on Freeze Top Row. When you freeze on top row and then you start scrolling, you can clearly see that our very first row is not moving along with the table no matter how much I scroll. This is one way of making sure that your headers are always available for you to see. The second way is to simply convert it into a table. When I convert it into a table, let's see what happens with the headers. Click anywhere on your data and then click on Format as Table and select a format that you like. Click on OK. Now when I scroll down, you will see that all the headers have simply moved into where the column names used to be. Instead of seeing A, B, C, D here now, I see the name of the column. And these are the two ways how you can ensure that the headers are always visible while scrolling down data. Now let's move on to the next important topic, pivot tables. Pivot table is a very long and advanced topic. I have created another YouTube video which you can go ahead and check out for more details on pivot tables. In this tutorial, I will just give you an introduction to pivot tables, and for more details you can check out the other video. So to create a pivot table, I just converted my data into a table, and then I would go to the Insert tab and click on Pivot Table. I would get a pop-up window which specifies the name of the table and asks me where I would like to place the pivot table, in a new worksheet or an existing worksheet. Let's place it in the existing worksheet, and I will place it right here. Click on OK. And now you would see that a white box has appeared along with a few options on the right hand side. In my pivot table, I would like to see the total revenue by year. For that, on the right hand side under pivot table fields, I would simply click on the year field and drag it and drop it to the row's value. Now you can see clearly, as soon as I drop the value, the white space that was there on the left hand side now has the unique year values. Next, I would like to see the total sales revenue per year. For that, I would simply click on the total sales revenue and drag it and drop it under the values field at the bottom right. Now we can see the table is simply giving me a total of each year's sales revenue. I can add further filtering to this. Let's say I would like to see the total values per country. So what do? I simply click on country and drag it and drop it under filters. Here I can filter the data by country. So let's say I would like to see the total sales revenue of China. I would click on China and click on OK. What this does is it filters the entire data and gives me the values for China only. Now let's say we want to clear this filter, and I click on all and then click on OK. Let's say I would like to see the total sales revenue for each country by year. Instead of putting the country under filters, I would just simply put it under rows. Now you can see by each year which country made how much revenue. Now, isn't that sweet? Isn't that so powerful? And finally, we would go on to the very last topic of the tutorial, Analyze Data. Analyze Data is a feature in the new versions of Excel. So if you don't see this feature in your Excel, make sure you have an updated version of Excel. To use this feature, just click anywhere on your data. At the Home tab on the extreme right, you would see Analyze Data. Click on Analyze Data, and within a few seconds, a panel would open up on the right-hand side of your screen showing extremely interesting analysis of your data. You can scroll down and see any analysis that might be helpful for your Excel chart and you would like to add them to your sheet. Just click on it and click on Insert. In less than 2 clicks, Analyze Data has added a chart to your Excel sheet. This is a fun feature of Excel. If any of this analysis is helpful, you can always use it and insert it into your sheet. Otherwise, as of now, it's just a fun to know feature. This brings us to the end of the tutorial. We have a lot more uploaded on our YouTube channel. Do visit, subscribe, and learn.